Hi, Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. Everybody believe that it's already November. It is time for the finishing part of our block of the month. Hopefully you have all your sashings cut. If not, go to the last video, find out about cutting them the size, and I'm going to show you how to put it together on one of these blocks. And I want you to go ahead and sew them all up. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to teach you how to sandwich that extra square that we made, and then I'm going to show you how to quilt it. Okay, so this can get us ready for putting ours together. But first I'm going to show you how to put the sashing on and connect the sashing in the rows. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing I did was I took them all off of the design wall and I pinned them. For example, here's two of them, and I pinned them together. They were side by side. I pulled them off, put a pin in each one, and laid them down and stacked them. So I know for a fact I've got the two connected. Now what I do is I keep it connected, and now this is going to be an easy block to make because this is the 4 square, and so the middle, the center of this square is right here at the seam. Take your sashing, whichever you're using, fold it in half, pinch the middle here, and then what you're going to do is you're going to match it up right on the seam here, and then you're going to put a pin in the middle. Let me get my pins over here. And this is what I've done. Now keep in mind, and I'm going to show you here, right here where that little seam has, I've folded this one over to the right, so you want to be aware of when you ironed your fabric how your seams are setting, because you don't want to mess this up and have them going the wrong way when you sew it this time. Alright, so let me show you here. Now see how at the corner it doesn't look like it matched? Well, I know for a fact that this black sashing is 12.5. So what you're doing is you're going to the corner of your fabric and your sashing, and you're putting your sashing up at the corner. Now you're probably going to do this and say, well, wait a minute, it's pulling. I'm going to show you what you're going to do about that. So first you pin it like this. And you can look on the back and see that it's correct. And then take you an extra pin and put it on the left side. And I'm going to show it to you as soon as I get it pinned. Like this. I put another pin right here. Make sure you can see it. That will hold this to get you started on this fabric so it doesn't twist on you. Go to the other end, match up your corner, and if you need to do the same thing, then do the same thing. So we're going to pin it in place, go to the right hand corner. On the other side, I'll show you when I get it done here. And this is what I've done. First I pinned it up here at the corner, and because it wants to pull, I pinned it here. Let's flip it over and show it to you again. So it looks like this. Okay? That's the way it looks on the back. And then you're going to start at the edge, which I will show you here, and we're going to sew it on the machine. Now I still have these two pieces. They're connected. I still have it pinned, okay? I have not unpinned it. So you're just going to go ahead. Now I'm using black thread. I'm using a 12 needle, 2.5 inch length. Just take your time. Now as I go along here, I'm making sure I can see where my seam comes up here. It does come towards me, so I made sure that was right. And then because the distance of this fabric, it is a little bit longer on the bottom. And remember now, when you sew, if you put the fabric that's a little bit longer on the bottom, the feed dogs will pull them in. And it won't make any pucker or anything. So what I'm doing is, with my right hand, I'm gently pulling the fabric, which stretches it a little bit as I sew. And I'm also looking to make sure that this fabric here is lined up and not sticking out. so that when I have it, it's not sticking out like that. See that little bit? I'm making sure that it is laying flat. I'm holding my finger on it. If you don't feel like you can do that, then you can pin it all along there. You can put as many pins in this as you want. I'm going to do the same thing here, making sure that it's laying down because it's going upward now, that seam that I've ironed. Now this left hand pin is holding my fabric straight as I come up to the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and lock mine into place before I get to the edge. There we go. And then we can take our pins out from the edge. And then we'll take a look at it on the front here. No puckering, no nothing. And it looks fine. Then we're going to go, I've left the middle pinned. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this other side. Now let me show you how you take it, because it doesn't have a seam showing the halfway point. So take your fabric, fold it in half, match your corners, grab them, and then you're going to slowly, when you do this on this piece, which is the one with the snowballs on it, and this also is the same thing for all the other squares that you run into like this. So when you grab it and you go for the middle, if you'll note the two seams where these snowballs are, they're going to match. Okay? Take your fabric and you're pinching, because all you're trying to do is get a little bit of seam in there that you can, I mean not a seam, but a little mark. And then you're going to do the same thing to this. You're marking it. It doesn't need to be done at the iron. Just do it yourself with your fingers. You can use one of those little one of these little wooden, if you don't feel like you can pinch that because you don't have the strength for one reason or another, that's fine. Take one of your little, I call them wooden iron, that's the halfway, and just do this. It'll do it for you, okay? Alright, and then you're going to lay it down. Let me get I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see this. 1 second. All right, this is what you're looking at right here. There's the seam on that fabric, and there, I mean the fold on that fabric, and there's the fold on that fabric. And you're going to put them together, and you're going to pin the middle first, and then you're going to go to the right and the left. Now we're going to sew this side here. And we're going to do the same thing. We have that one little seam where the snowball is on the corner, and we're going to make sure that that's in the same direction that we ironed it. We don't want it flipping up on us. Okay, now that took care of the two outer seams. I mean the two outer sashes. What I do is I go ahead, I unpin them. We'll just do the snowball one first. Take it, fold it in half, just like before. Now when you put your sashing on here, this will correct the size of your block. And when I say correct it, the reason I say that is, even if you measured your block and you thought it was 12.5, you know that when you did this sashing that you did it 12.5. And the sashing was a smaller piece than the block was, and the block is pieced together. So this is one solid piece you're sashing. So when you match it up, you're actually making that block 12.5, even if it's off just a little bit. And the only reason I'm keeping mine in order of the way I do it is because I want it set up just a certain way. But if you don't care about where your blocks are falling, then you can just do all of this as a chain stitching, where you can just pin all the sashing on all the blocks. It wouldn't make a difference. Okay, now I know that this is the center part because it's the last part I'm doing. That's how I keep myself from being confused. So go ahead and do this, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I connect it to the next one, because all that is one on each side. So now you take this piece, which you just finished, and you're going to fold it in half. Trying to make our little crease, which I just did. Then I take, here's my other square here, and it's going to lay like this. And right now, this is the middle of it. So I'm going to turn it this way because I want the black on the top, which is my sashing. And I'm going to put it right here, the little crease right in there where that seam is, and just pin it, just like that. And then pin it on each end. Pin at the top here. And then sew that. Now you want to take them and you want to iron all of them. And there you go. That's what it looks like. And you want to take it over to the ironing board and iron them, and I'll show it to you. Okay, so here's what it's going to look like when it's ironed. And if you've got a regular ironing board, this is what I have, a regular one. It'll fit your whole ironing board. See? Let's pull it down a little bit. There you go. Okay, here's the edge of my ironing board. Back it up a little bit. There you go. Just iron it flat. Now, I laid them down upside down and I numbered them. Let's move this piece. So you can see number 3. That's just a chalk pencil. What I did was I put them all in order the way that I wanted to see them. So this is the 3rd one. And then all I did was took them, flipped them over, and wrote the number on them so I could keep in order because I've got 1 through 5. Here's what I did. I took my strip and I laid it down to measure it. Let me see if I can get it right. There we go. And then if you look at here, it's 28 3/4. But if you pull a little bit, it will go to 28 1/2. So my strips are 28 1/2. So I took my strips that I cut and I made them 28 1/2. Then I turn it around. I'm going to pull this one down to show you that I've already done it on here. Done it on a couple of them. And I put it right there, pinned it. So I cut out my 6 strips and I'm pinning them on my blocks. So when you lay your block out, the first one over there on the sewing machine is the last block, and it's going to have 1 on each end because you have 1 on the bottom and then 1 in the middle between them. All right, and then I'm going to sew all of these on. And let me let you know that when I sewed this block, hold on 1 second. When I sewed this strip on, if you look at it, let me get this ruler right here so I can lay it on there. And I'm going to show you that it is not 1/4 inch. See that? The 1/4 inch, whoops, would be right here. And when I push that up against where that thread, the seam line is, see how it is right here? All I did was laid it right next to the foot. And I'll show you here on this next one that I've got laid on the sewing machine. Let's go over here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me make this go in a little bit more. There we go. See this 1/4 inch right here? If you can see, it's on the left of my foot right here. Okay? So let me pull the fabric over here so you have an idea. If I was going to sew 1/4 inch, that's where I would sew. But I didn't. I took my fabric and I went right here. So I am bigger than 1/4 inch, but it doesn't make any difference because this is the edge of my quilt, and that's what I want to do. If you want to make it 1/4, by all means, make it 1/4. It's up to you. The reason that I didn't want to do the 1/4 inch is that I don't want to have to worry about it. I just want to enjoy sewing this, not worrying about whether I'm getting my seam straight or not. And if that's what you want to do, fine. That is why when I measured it, and this is important, the reason my width of my entire 2 strips plus these sashings came out to 28.5 is because of the way that I'm sewing this in here. So anyway, if you do this to yours, and even if you don't, you're going to want to measure the width from this end to the other end to get your length of that strip that you need to cut. And they should all be the same. If they're not the same, measure them all, and whichever one you want to go with, either the bigger or the smaller, that's the one you want to stay with. If you're off like 1/4 inch, I would go with the larger one because you can stretch your fabric a little bit to match. And when you iron your sashing open, be sure that you press your seam so that they can relax before you open them. And we're going to quilt as we go on this. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to do 2 at a time, and then we're going to add each one. And I'm going to try to make it as simple as I can for you so that it's really easy, and then you won't be afraid to do it yourself if you want to do another project. And when you put these 2 together like this, each set you do, that's when you can decide what you want to do with them. If you put 4 together, that's perfect for a table topper. It's perfect for a baby blanket. If you only want to do 1 and you don't want to do 2 and sandwich them, they can be placemats. Anything you want. It's just left to your imagination as to what you want to make it. And I'm coming to the end here. And I did a lot of pinning because I wanted to make sure that my seams stayed down that I had ironed. And that's the way that one looks. I'm just going to flip it over and do the other side. Now I have both of these sewn on there, and I'll iron them. Okay, if you've forgotten what setting your seam is, you lay it down on the ironing board and you're sewing it while it's still folded. I'm using steam on this. And by doing that, it's relaxed all of the seam right here. And then I just fold it over like that and iron it. All right. There it's. So this is going up. Don't worry about all those threads and everything. They're not going to hurt a thing. Let me flip it upside down. Oh, and as you note, this is number 1, so that's my top. I'm going to lay it out here on the ironing board a little bit. So let me take a look at it. There we go. There it is. And then here's that's for the second piece. So the second one gets attached to that. The top of the second one gets attached to that. Now here's the second one. Doesn't have anything down here at the bottom because this is where the third one gets attached. This is where number 2 gets attached to number 1. So I'm doing the bottom of number 2. Let's see. Let me make sure I have that right. Hold on. All right, good thing I looked at that because I had the strip on the wrong side. This is going to be attached to the one I just did. So this is going to be attached to the next one. No use marking if I'm not going to use my marks. But if you don't care how yours is put together in any kind of order, then you don't need to be marking them. I did it to keep mine straight. So go ahead, sew all your sashing on. When I get done with this, I'll show you how I'm going to do the next one. All right, here's 1 and here's 2. What you do, follow the same protocol. And what I do is I take this seam and the back seam, and I am trying to fold them in half. And you can feel them with your hands. If you don't think you can feel them, grab yourself a pen. Put it in this seam here, in the corner here, and go right. You can actually look at the other side. Let's go a little higher here. It's in that seam. Go right over here to this seam. And bring it out there. That's both seams. The pin is sticking straight out. And then squeeze it here because you're trying to get a little mark on it. Pull your pin out. And there you've got it. And then you're going to take this one and you're going to fold it in half like that, right there at the seam where the 2 seams meet. You're going to put a crease in it. You're going to lay it. And now you can see both creases. And then either lay the black one, which in my case the sashing, but what I'm doing is I'm putting my sashing on top. So I put the fabric down like this, match up the 2 seams, the 2 pieces of folded fabric where you made your little fold. Take that pin, put it right in there. That tells you that's the beginning of it. Start at this end and then pin. From one end to the other, just like before. You're going to go on the left side, then on the right side, and then you're going to put pins in between each end. Okay? Look how many pins I put in there. A whole slew of pins. You put as many pins that you feel safe using when you make it. Now go ahead and sew it. All right? And I'm going to show you what it looks like when I'm done. Is what 4 of them look like together. That's why I said if you want to stop at 4, that's perfect for a table topper. Now I'm going to go there and finish the rest of them up and put them together. All right, I've put it on my design wall. I'm going to go slowly down here so you can see it. There you go. All right, now remember that extra block that we made. You're going to go ahead and you're going to put sashing all the way around it as if it were a block that you were using in your quilt. You're going to get whatever batting you want. This is low loft batting, 100% cotton, And then you're going to get a fabric that you want to use on the back, which is what I'm going to use this for. All right, so you're going to take your batting and you're going to put it on top of the wrong side of your fabric. Smooth it out. I think I put it, let's see if it was this way. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, that was the bigger piece. Okay, smooth it out. And then you take your block, which is your practice block, and you're going to put it on the top. Now, because this is so small, you're not going to need to pin it, baste it, or anything. And then we're going to get the sewing machine ready so that we can stitch on this. And what you're practicing is, you're going to practice stitches. If you have a machine that has a zigzag or it has some nice stitches, you're going to go straight down one of your lines that you have created on this block. Okay? And then what we'll do is in this, like in my case, I've got a large square here and a medium size here, and that's where I'm going to practice some stippling. Because I want to see all the different things that I might want to put on my block, so I can have a preview of it and say, oh, that's too hard to make, I don't want to do that. Or, oh, that's really easy and that's nice looking, that's the one I'm going to use. That's what this is for. It's all for practice. But you're going to need to get your machine set up. If you need to get out your manual, that's fine. All right, so let's go over here to the sewing machine and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so it tells me that when I've chose this design, my width is 6. And I think I want to make my width 7. So all I do is increase my width. And I'm going to go ahead and make the length, which is the distance, I'm going to go ahead and go up to 4. So first I'm going to, what I'm doing is I am putting, grab my stylus here, I'm putting the opening that's in this foot right on the line where this seam is at. So all I'm doing is putting my foot down, and then I am locking it in place before I start it. And then I'm just going to slowly come down and pay attention to what I'm doing here. It's going to make one of those little flowers or whatever you call them. And I'm just going to try to keep it right out here on the line. And I'm doing this in just regular cotton black thread. I'm not making it fancy or anything. And notice I'm having to turn my fabric because it does not want to walk straight. And I'm getting to the end down here, so I'm going to have to be prepared to stop it. One more flower, so slow down. There we go. And lock it back in place. Let's take a look at it. And this is what it looks like. See? So it's like right down the seam. Let me back it up a little bit. There you go. So if that's what I want to do, that would be nice. I could do it on all the seams. So let's do something else. Let me turn it this way. And let's try, let me see here. Kind of like this one here, but we got to make it bigger. So I went 7 with it. It started out at 6. And it started out with the width of 6 and the length of 2. And I'm making it 7 and 3. And then we're going to go down here and I'm going to start it again. So go in place and lock it. And let's see. Coming to the end, so we want to slow down. There we go, and lock it in place. And I'm going to take a look at that one. Let's try something else. Let's take a look. look and see what this one looks like. And it really does change it when you put a different length on it. Let's go over here to this side and try it. I don't really know what this one's going to look like, so let's lock it into place. And we can do half this block and change it up if we don't really care for it. Let's just take a look at it and see what it's doing. Let's see, can we change it to something else? How about if we go a little smaller with it? With the width. We'll keep the length, but we're going to make the width a little bit smaller and see if there's much difference. Maybe a little bit. Let's decrease our length on it. Let's see here. Okay, let's stop it here. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so you'll have an idea from, I'm going to show you the top part, which is the larger. There's the larger. And then as you came down, it got smaller and smaller. Let's try another. This is called a serpentine stitch. Let's put that on this right here. And it starts out at 5 and the length is 1.0. Let's try it. Oops. Push the wrong button. Okay, lock it into place. Let's see. Lock that into place. And then this decorative stitch we're going to use next is actually, it looks like springs. Let's go down this one here with it. Let's try that. Let's lock it in place here. Okay, and we're going to leave it at that 5.5 for the width and 1.6 for the length. Let's see. Let's pick this up here. Let's see if I can. Look at that. Okay. And I got another one I can do here. Let's do one of those half things, shall we? They look like eyelashes. It's a scalloped stitch. I don't know if I'll be able to keep on the line for that, but let's try it and see. Let's lock it into place. Okay, here we go. Then when we're halfway down here, we're going to flip it. Let's see. Trying to figure out where to stop before it starts over. And I'm going to do that mirror image thing. Let's see. There we go. Show you what that looks like. Oh, let me clip this little piece right here. stop it right there. Okay, and here's that. And this was that mirror image thing I was showing you. So there it went on the right side, and then I got it to go on the left side. Okay. All right, so let's take this foot off and let's change out the feet. Now this is where you need to bring your feet up. Go back to the other screen here. Okay. And you need to, I mean, not your feet, I'm sorry. This is where you need to bring your thread up. So normally what I do is I put the foot down, put my needle down once, and then, let me get my tweezers because I never can get this up, and then needle up, and then pull on the bobbin, I mean on the thread, and then it brings up the bobbin thread, and I twist it and bring it up. So here's the bobbin, and here's the top. Now let's see if we can do a little something. So the first thing you normally do is you put your needle right back in the spot you were in, because you're going to actually lock it in place by moving around a little bit. And let me see where I can set this up, because my hands are going to be way in the way. Well, let's see if this is going to help you see anything. So all I'm doing is moving it a little bit. Just lock it into place and then slowly go around, because I'm picking my own size. I'm doing my own speed. The foot's just going up and down. I should have checked to see if my tension was correct. Let's see if it is. Now it can be adjusted a little bit here. Let's try this. See what that tension is. Yes, now I think I can show you the two different tensions here. Let me continue a little bit. Started from. Okay, and we'll cut that off. And then I'm going to show you the two different tensions. And since I didn't start my machine and start the freehand at the very beginning, the tension was off. And then, therefore, I went in and adjusted the tension since I'd already been on something else. But now is a good time to show you the difference in the tension on the back of my fabric. So hold on one second. This is incorrect tension. that is what looks like the eyelashes on a person. That meant the tension was too loose because it's pulling up the bobbin thread. That's what that is. It's the bobbin thread. And then this here, some of this is even incorrect. So what I have to do with my sewing machine, and I'm going to try it here in a minute, is to shut it off and turn it on and get the tension set. But this is pretty easy to take out because it's not, I didn't cross anything. All this is stippling, and none of it has been crossed on top of the other. None of it has any kind of knotting in it. So all I have to do is take it out just like you would anything else. It won't be that hard to take it out, and then start over. Alright, so I went ahead and I changed out my thread, and I put a yellow on the bottom and black on the top, and this is embroidery thread. And let's see if we can get it to work. Now the disadvantage of putting two different colors that are not even close to being the same is that they may show through on the other side. Now if the bobbin was black and the top was black, that'd be fine, because it'd be alright, you would not notice it. But I have gold, not a yellow, it's actually gold, and we're going to try it out here. I'm not gonna do too much, just gonna do a big area here, and we're gonna take a look at it. Alright, let's take a look at it. So here's what I was talking about. I'm going to bring the camera around here. Hold on one second. From a distance, it's fine. You can't really see it. I'm going to pull it up so you can see it up close. See, now the tension is correct, but you can see the little black because that's your bobbin thread. When I flip it over to the front, see? So you want to use matching thread if you can, and you want to, or go with two light colors. But like I said, this is right here is in the bobbin, and the black is on the top. Okay, can anybody tell me the difference between this one and the last picture you saw like this? There's the difference. Every one of these sections is not sewn together. This one here is only pinned. I took them all out because I realized if I sewed them all together, you could not quilt it as we go along. So what you want to do is you want to put the top binding and the next binding on your first section. Let me turn the camera sideways here. On your first row. On the second row, you're only going to put it on the bottom. The same with the third. Only on the bottom. Let me see if I can lift it up here. Only on the bottom. When you get down to the bottom, here's the bottom row right here. It's not on the top, it's on the bottom. Okay? Because we're going to quilt this as we go. So we're going to quilt this block by itself. When it's quilted, we're going to add this next block and put it on. I'm going to show you how to do it so that we can get it all done, and it will not be hard to do. It's not going to be an overwhelming quilting job. Also, I went ahead and I was reviewing my video. I did not show you how to quilt in the ditch, which I will show you, because the block that looks like this here, that would look really, really good on the back side to see that quilted in the ditch, because you go right up against the seam line. So we'll outline everything in that block. It would be beautiful. But I'll show you that in the next video, because that's probably what I'll do to that block. Okay, that is it for the video today. I hope you learned a lot. You want to go ahead and get your batting, your backing fabric, Get those sashings sewed onto your squares if you haven't done that yet. And the next time we come back, we are going to quilt as you go. So you need to have your batting bought and your backing and all the blocks put together with the sashing so we can get started on that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about putting a label on your quilt, because you want to label it to identify it as your first quilt along. You can give it a name if you want. You probably want to put the year so that down the road you can remember when you made it. And if it's your first one, then put that down, that it's your very first one. It's a big accomplishment that you've made if you've followed me so far. So until next month when we finish this up, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Go ahead and click on that little button to subscribe and that little bell so that you get more notices. And I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.